After a 6-year hiatus, the Aston Martin DBS is gone, and the most famous big Aston of them all, the Vanquish, is back. This one still has a V12 engine in the front. It's still got 2 seats in the middle, and this one costs from £330,000. And I think it looks like every penny of that. So let's get in and have a drive.
There have been 2 model generations of the Vanquish before this, and both have alternated as top-of-the-range Super GTs with Aston Martin DBS models. But this is the first modern big V12 Aston of either appellation to get its own bonded aluminium platform, and the first to shift to a rear-mounted gearbox, which means that all of Gaydon's front-engined coupes now use transactional transmissions and have improved weight distribution as a result.
So here we are, new Aston Martin Vanquish, core, blimey, etc. There are 3 things I suspect Aston Martin would like you to know about this car. The first one is that it is more powerful than a Ferrari 12-Cilindri. It's funny, isn't it? You don't get 12-cylinder sports cars very often these days. All of a sudden we've had 2 in very quick succession. This one, however, has 835 metric horsepower, 824 imperial ones. The Ferrari has only got 820 imperial ones. Or is it 19? I think it's 19. So yes, this car has 5 whole horses more than the most powerful Atmo unhybridized front-engined Ferrari. That's a bit of a result. I wonder if Mr. Fedeli, the technical chief of Aston Martin, ex-Ferrari, might have had something to do with that. Be a bit of a failure, wouldn't it, if he'd fallen short of that one, but he hasn't. So there you go. They have gazumped Ferrari. The other 2 things are about the role that this car plays for Aston Martin. They talk about its character and its capability. These are the things that are supposed to separate it from a DB12 or a Vantage. So it's supposed to have that kind of duality of purpose, that long-striding, cruising capability of a big GT that you can cross continents in easily and effortlessly as well as quickly. And it's supposed to have character. Big Aston character, so they've turned up the volume on the V12 engine, they've added all this performance, they haven't made it too refined or luxurious so you can feel what you're doing all the time. It's kind of walking a line, isn't it, between the big luxury GT and the soulful sports car. It has to walk that line, and it's quite a difficult one. That's what it's trying to do. So what do I think of it? Well, it is certainly quick. It certainly makes plenty of noise. That was maybe one criticism you could have made of the DBS, that after they turbocharged it, the V12 engine maybe wasn't quite as nice to listen to. Well, this one, yeah, makes plenty of noise. A bit more, I like that. And wow, it has got all of the torque. I mean, on torque alone, I think it's got something like 250 foot-pounds nearly more than the Ferrari. It would have, because it's got 2 turbos. But wow, you just sort of squeeze the pedal a bit and it flies down the road. You have to be a bit careful how much you sort of flex your right foot. I mean, it's got that much torque. At times, it feels like it's really wrestling through the driveline. And it could cause you some problems, and Aston Martin actually will tell you when you turn down the drive mode, you go back down to GT mode or wet mode. They spend a lot of software effort managing that torque curve so that you don't get yourself in a whole world of trouble, which, you know, 1,000 Newton meters of torque could very easily put you into. So anyway, that's the sort of character, the performance and the drama bit covered off. There's plenty of that. What about the capability? I'm not so sure about that. Like I say, it's not as simple as just making the most refined GT car that they could make, because that wouldn't really feel like a big Aston. This car sort of has to feel a bit raw, I think, and a bit naughty. It has to have an edge of savageness about it. And there is certainly plenty of rawness. You know, you can hear the transmission whining away in the transaxle at the back there occasionally. There isn't much isolation in the suspension. You hear a bump like that, you hit one and you know it, you feel it, you hear it. The aluminium chassis has always had some problems with NVH. yeah, this isn't the most refined GT car you could spend your money on. It isn't really intended to be, I suspect. But it's a particular compromise, and I think maybe if you like the idea of a big, slightly wild Aston, none of that refinement stuff will bother you. I think that the two-seat nature of the car, that'll be fine as well. I think you buy this car expecting it to be a sort of a exclusive two-seat experience. That's fine. You just pick your favourite family member or friend and you dismiss the rest for a bit. I think the slightly small boot could be a bigger problem for the car. It could do with a bit more boot space. The seat comfort isn't all that great. It's a slightly short seat cushion. I mean, I'm a fairly tall fella. And the seat's sort of soft enough, but it could just be a little bit more adjustable. It could just sort of support you better a little bit for long distances. Generally though, the rest of the cabin is right up there. It feels high quality, it feels really well made, well put together, solid, nice and tactile. All of that stuff is good, you know, and that's the progress that Aston Martin has really made over the last 12-18 months to put itself on the map a bit more, particularly in comparison with the likes of Bentley and Mercedes-AMG. They haven't got any problems clearly with either digital technology or cabin quality anymore. They really have banished those, and the effect is pretty marked, I must say. So there you go. Inevitably, I think we're going to have a little bit of a get-together when Ferrari manages to get its 12-cylinder press car in the UK next year. We're going to have to get this car and that car together for a little bit of a doodah, a little bit of a twin test, because I don't know which one is going to leave the bigger mark on the exotic Super GT segment. Clearly this one is pretty good. As long as you want a big Aston rather than a Bentley or something more refined inherently, I think you're going to like this car. Whether it looks absolutely as you want it to, well, that's subjective, isn't it? I personally always like the look of the DBS. This car, well, it's growing on me, but it didn't instantly appeal to me like a DBS did, so we'll stick a pin in that for now, come back to it. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you anon.